Keep yourself from going to the flames to keep someone else warm. We discover the value of sharing, generosity, and moral behavior in developing a strong character. Regardless of the situation, Stoicism teaches us how to think clearly and live a fulfilling life. This does not, however, imply that we should burn ourselves alive in order to keep others warm. For people who are the recipients of such generosity, it may be quite beneficial to be readily accessible, excessively helpful, and well-liked. But what about you? When your kindness has no boundaries, and we don't always get what we give in this world, how does that make you feel? We come across giving folks who give all they have. My life has been transformed by the Stoic style of thinking, which has given me emotional fortitude. I will thus discuss 7 scenarios that arise from too generous and compassionate behavior, as well as how we really set boundaries in our lives based on Stoic understanding. First rule: avoid lighting oneself on fire to keep others warm. Stoics place a strong emphasis on leading morally upright lives. In the quest of an ethical and meaningful life, these principles serve as a guide for choices and acts. Establishing limits in our relationships is essential to preserving harmony and preventing us from sacrificing our true selves and well-being for the sake of others. Sometimes we unknowingly volunteer ourselves for misery when we reach out or offer assistance. This makes me think of a tale I'd like to tell you about a relationship between a horse and a donkey that occurred on a farm. The horse confessed to the donkey one night about how difficult its daily routine was, plowing non-stop from dawn to sunset, enduring the heat, experiencing leg tiredness, and having its neck ached from the harness. The donkey, however, was free to unwind all day long as it was at ease and had no pressing obligations. The donkey understood the horse and was a close buddy. He said, "My dear friend, you really have a lot on your plate, and I would like to help. Here's how to take a day off. When the farmhand arrives in the morning, lay down on the ground and moan as loudly as you can to make him believe you're ill and unable to work." Next, the suggestion: the horse became ill and was unable to be employed in the plow. The owner was informed of this by the farmhand the next day. Then the farmer gave the donkey the command to handle the work for the duration of the day. The horse had the donkey do his chores, even though all he wanted to do was aid his friend. The horse, who had had some rest, wanted to thank him, but the donkey was hurt and tired that night. "You are a good friend. I could rest all day because of your advice. On the other hand, I am like many generous hearts who start by helping a friend and end up being forced to take on their tasks." The bemused donkey shot back, "Has your life ever made you feel like the horse?" Post a narrative in the comments section. Like in the anecdote, it's important because we often want to help someone so much that we don't think twice about it. Self-reflection, or questioning our first responses and attempting to live by reason, is a skill that Stoicism teaches us. This procedure discourages rash decisions and encourages decisions that are consistent with our ideals. In his discourses, Epictetus, a renowned and sage Stoic philosopher, advises readers to stand for a moment and reflect on the nature of the task you are about to perform when you are about to start some task. If, before you start, you tell yourself, "I want to accomplish this task, and at the same time, I want to keep my moral purpose in harmony with nature," you will be more confident in your work. The lesson here is obvious. If you want to aid a friend, do so, but in a manner that avoids taking on their responsibilities. Stoicism prepares us for a different way of thinking. The Stoics advise us to build harmonious partnerships in which neither party makes undue sacrifices and both make fair contributions. To sum up, the adage, "Don't set yourself on fire to warm others," is consistent with Stoic ideals of living sensibly, fostering harmonious relationships, and refraining from making extreme sacrifices that might jeopardize your integrity and general well-being. Number 2. There is a time limit on reciprocity. Stoicism stresses that doing our best and without expecting anything in return is really virtuous. However, when we offer, we often find ourselves expecting the same amount of generosity in return from others. No matter what you do or have done for someone else, you have to realize that reciprocity has a limit. Over time, most individuals forget what they have been given, even if they are quite thankful right now, and assure you that they will always remember your assistance. At times, we project expectations onto other people, believing that they would never behave in a certain manner, or that they will always be there for us, no matter what. We kind of anticipate acknowledgement and reciprocity, but when these expectations are not realized, there's a problem, and we feel cheated and deceived. Because of this, giving without expecting too much in return, avoiding putting our satisfaction in other people's behavior, and learning emotional detachment all shield us against disappointments and increase our peace of mind. As per the Stoic perspective, our expectations are the root of the issue. We expose ourselves completely when we assume other people would react in a similar manner to our own. Although it's human nature to want reciprocity, Stoicism serves as a helpful reminder that we are only in charge of our own actions and emotions. The wisdom of Epictetus highlights this in his discourses. There are two principles to have ready: that there is nothing good or evil beyond my own choosing, and that we should not strive to lead events but follow them. The quotation from Epictetus supports the concept that we should accept things as they are, without attempting to control them or form false expectations, and that good and evil are connected to the decisions we make based on reason. As a result, while showing generosity, keep in mind that it may not always be returned, as anticipating reciprocity often results in discouragement, frustration, and disappointment. Let's refrain from setting expectations. The secret is to concentrate on the things you can manage, making sure that your activities are really beneficial and that you don't spend time on the things that you are unable to alter. True riches, according to Stoicism, is found in the capacity to give without expecting anything in return, to find delight in the process of giving, and to maintain our mental stability in the face of negative responses from others. It is an essential idea. Thus, let us learn to concentrate on deeds that are within our grasp, and to cultivate an attitude of detached generosity that offers inner fulfillment, even in the absence of acknowledgement or return. 3. Requests that are received are not restricted. A few centuries ago, certain nobility had attendants who took care of their clothing, combed their hair, and took care of other basic personal hygiene needs. We now find this lack of bounds and common sense to be ludicrous. On the other hand, consider your own life. How often do individuals ask you for favors that they could do on their own? Naturally, people look to us for certain things. Stoicism gives us the tools to create boundaries and implement them in our daily lives. One of the Stoic virtues, moderation, becomes a compass in the face of incessant pleas for assistance and support. The Stoic path counsels us to moderate our generosity. By exercising moderation, we retain control over our behavior and break bad habits that harm our mental health rather than passively accepting endless requests and favors. Taking on other people's obligations all the time not only makes us overburdened, but it also prevents them from developing and overcoming obstacles. A tale of a woman and her grown daughter in a tiny village makes this clear. Despite her advanced age, the mother gave her ailing daughter tender care, keeping her from fulfilling her obligations. The mother had been caring for her ill daughter for years, which kept her from fulfilling her obligations. The girl was completely dependent on her mother, and the only times she got up were to take care of her basic necessities. The mother consistently put off her daughter's regular examinations and checkups since she never left her alone. Regretfully, the mother unexpectedly became unwell one day and died. Many were worried about the daughter's welfare as a result of her mother's absence. The daughter shocked everyone by returning to her usual life after her mother passed away, demonstrating how overindulgence in caring, even in the face of well-meaning intentions and affection, may impede personal development. This conundrum impacts not just other people but also ourselves. You get trapped in a cycle of one-sided generosity when you continuously take on other people's duties while ignoring your own needs. Merely one person is providing in this dynamic, while the other is merely receiving. This behavior utterly damages your emotional well-being and saps your vitality. By being moderately generous and making balanced donations, we may keep control over our behavior and steer clear of routines that upset our emotional equilibrium. If we get used to giving without stopping, those who gain from our kindness could start to anticipate and want more and more. Receivers don't have boundaries. No matter how much you do, it will never feel enough. To maintain our serenity and well-being, it is essential to practice generosity, but it is also critical to set clear limits and strike a balance in the way we provide assistance. We inspire others to develop as people and assume personal responsibility. In his musings, Emperor Marcus Aurelius imparted insight that we should not forget. A man's job is to stand upright, not to be kept upright by others. We find genuine generosity in this delicate equilibrium, which is advantageous to ourselves as well as to others. Seneca was a famous politician, author, and Stoic philosopher who shared his knowledge via letters, including his thoughts on friendship and true connection in relationships. Seneca left behind a substantial legacy. He who begins to be your friend because of the benefit will also cease because of the benefit. He says emphatically, a person will be drawn to something in friendship that goes beyond friendship itself if they are promised a reward in return for their friendship. Seneca emphasizes the need of developing genuine relationships, free from outside pressure. Overindulging in giving may lead to shallow relationships driven by certain goals, whether they material or something we can do or provide. We often base our worth on our abilities rather than our true selves, either out of self-disgust, fear of being judged, or a lack of self-worth. Overindulgence in giving may often be an outlet for this conditioning, and as a result, we wind up giving too much of ourselves to others and showing too much thanks. In practical application, Stoicism stresses the value of independence and self-control, enabling you to establish a strong foundation on values that are incompatible with this conduct. Our internal sense of worth, value, and fulfillment must originate from inside. As a result, we must continuously work on improving our self-belief and self-esteem. This dynamic applies to all facets of our relationships, personal, professional, and social, and is not just restricted to friendships. Creating relationships based on shared interests results in a flimsy foundation that is most definitely not resistant to little adjustments or difficulties. In prosperity, it is very easy to find friends. In adversity, there is nothing more difficult. Epictetus tells us, relationships must be built on embracing one another for who we are, flaws and all. By connecting with one another in this manner, we not only enable ourselves to flourish, but also acknowledge and embrace our genuine selves. Stoic ideas promote a more grounded and real approach, in which respect for core values and mutual understanding lead to the development of true connection. Number 4. Your priorities become less important. Living a life of virtue is the primary objective of Stoicism. In order to do this, we must continuously work on developing our moral character and mastering our emotions, which will guide us toward being the best versions of ourselves. But we are going the other way when we take on too much of other people's obligations. To maintain equilibrium and prevent sacrificing our authenticity and well-being for others, it is essential that we set boundaries in our relationships and give our obligations first priority. The priorities of others may make you feel smothered, or maybe you are running away from something within that hurts and scares you. We forget our own obligations when we take on other people's, which eventually results in the neglect of our own lives. To a certain extent, it is simpler to avoid confronting our own constraints and anxieties, and use this as an excuse to spend more time attending to the concerns of others. But this unwavering commitment comes at a heavy cost. You lose yourself in the process and come to the realization that your own life is being neglected because of your overcommitment to solving the issues of others. When you confront the stillness of your own self, your inner voice eventually becomes muffled, and the agony and anxiety you attempted to suppress eventually resurface. It is critical to understand that taking care of our wants and priorities is a type of self-care and authenticity maintenance, rather than selfishness. The Stoics taught us that leading a morally upright life and establishing boundaries is a route to a meaningful existence, as well as an act of self-love. This fact was encapsulated by the famous Stoic philosopher Cicero, who remarked, "Of all the days of our life, few are dedicated to ourselves." The next time you're tempted to lose yourself in selfless devotion to others, stop. Identify the uneasy feelings that surface in isolation and accept them with kindness. Give yourself permission to set healthy boundaries. Learn when to say no and be true to your needs and wants. You will discover that when you respect your own authenticity, you are able to give others a balanced and sincere act of giving in addition to inwardly enriching yourself. As such, it's critical to learn how to use your time and information wisely and to prioritize putting on your own oxygen mask before anything else. In this manner, you may more effectively assist others without neglecting your own needs. Number 5. Because Stoicism is associated with fragility, it helps us to strengthen our inner resolve and self-control. It also helps us to set limits, cultivate a better mental health, and exercise self-discipline. Ironically, when you provide too much assistance over time, you may come seen as an authority figure or a collaborator rather than the reverse. When you don't set limits, you become susceptible in this situation. When others see your vulnerability, they could start to use and abuse you in different ways rather than appreciating you. They begin to see you as someone who is always prepared to provide a hand and take on any assignment without hesitation. They so take advantage of and misuse this readiness, which results in circumstances that leave them completely frustrated and exhausted. Something remarkable occurs when you begin to gently and firmly say no. People start to see you in a new light. You become someone who loves oneself enough to establish boundaries and who deserves to be treated with respect and decency instead of someone who is ready to take anything without question. This shift in perspective is important because you influence how other people view you just by using the simple word no. You go beyond your mental challenges and grow into a strong individual who can stand up for yourself and is, thus, deserving of respect. In the end, respect comes from how you treat yourself as much as from what you do for other people. As one of the finest authors and Stoic philosophers of antiquity, Cicero informed us that what you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you. He already understood this. You may make it very obvious to the rest of the world that you deserve to be treated with respect and decency by establishing boundaries and exercising self-control. Thus, keep in mind the power of saying no the next time you find yourself in a scenario when your boundaries are being challenged. You are defending yourself and reiterating your own worth by saying it. As you put these changes into practice in your life, you will face several obstacles. We communicate with the world and others around us via our behaviors. It is only natural for people to come to you when they are in need of assistance if you are offering your assistance without conditions. Difficult outcomes may result from this, such as people who formerly enjoyed your company ceasing to invite you to parties, get-togethers, or minor celebrations, and only remembering you when you're in need of assistance. It seems that people are only considerate when they need a favor. Though this behavior pattern may seem harsh, it makes more sense when seen in a different light. For leisure time, people often invite their close friends, relatives, or those with whom they have a sincere and harmonious connection, but not their coworkers or collaborators. This shift in the way we are treated might be unsettling and completely unjust, but that is the nature of the beast. You find yourself in a situation where, while you provide assistance with open arms, you sometimes feel left out when you're trying to unwind. Feelings of disappointment and betrayal might result from this selective treatment. But from a Stoic standpoint, this interplay is a discernment exercise that asks you to identify who is really appreciative of your relationship and who is just abusing your kindness. 5. We'll discover who our real pals are. It's important for us to focus on the deeds rather than the words of those around us. It's crucial to keep in mind that Stoicism promotes the development of a profound awareness of human nature rather than cynicism or mistrust. We may choose to assist those who really need and will value our sincere assistance by exercising judgment. By doing this, we protect our vitality and surround ourselves with those who respect us for who we are rather than simply what we can achieve. By using the intellect, Stoicism provides us with the skills we need to flourish in life. This task offers a chance to exercise Stoic self-control by establishing limits and choosing where to focus our time and energy. We may live stoically and find contentment in the intricacies of human relationships by balancing our generosity and giving it to those who really appreciate our assistance. Although establishing boundaries is a straightforward procedure, you may not know how to start acting on them if you haven't done it before. Let's look at ways to prevent individuals from using them. The first tactic is to get over your fear of saying no. What is the underlying cause of your fear of saying no? This conduct usually stems from the frequent teachings we get as children, which tell us that being polite will make us likable to nobody. These ideas are ingrained with terror, assimilated as absolute facts, and committed to memory. Stoicism, on the other hand, places a strong emphasis on the value of reflection and ongoing inquiry in the search for a purposeful and meaningful existence. We have the ability to make choices about our life now that we are adults. You are released from these potential conditionings when you realize that fear was ingrained in you throughout childhood, when you lack the capacity to doubt the veracity of threats. By studying Stoicism, we may acquire the skills necessary to comprehend our feelings and to pause and consider our reactions to the world rather than letting habit and instinct take over. One method to practice self-control is to say no when you feel overburdened or when the request is unjust. The second tactic is to be mindful of your emotions. Stoicism encourages us to be aware of our thoughts, comprehend our feelings, and maintain a sound mental structure. This Stoic technique helps us become more self-aware and reflective. By being aware of your emotions, you can determine if you are emotionally and physically overcommitting yourself, which enables you to make changes to achieve a healthy balance. It's important to think back on how you feel when you assist others, taking into account their needs as well as your own. It should feel good to be kind, almost like walking on clouds. On the other side, you should pay attention to your sentiments if you discover that you are feeling overburdened, depleted, angry, or tired. When something that isn't required of you makes you feel so uncomfortable, you need to be honest with yourself and realize how the help you provide affects your health. Sixth rule, put yourself first. There are moments when we become authorities on the strangest topics and neglect our own needs. It's critical to make time and space for self-care in accordance with the Stoic values of self-control and self-respect. The more we practice Stoicism, the more we learn to take care of our souls, and the more we learn how to take care of ourselves. Therefore, don't ignore yourself. Take good care of your physical and mental well-being. Take note of who you are. Consider oneself to be important. You need to consider this carefully. Accept who you are. Provide forgiveness to yourself for errors and setbacks, and look at the next year as a chance for new resets. Select a self-care activity and give yourself plenty of time during this period. If someone tries to intrude, respect these boundaries and don't feel bad about telling them no. Assist is always welcome, but please be upfront about the fact that you have a life to live and will not be able to assist everyone at all. Step 7. Determine who is taking. It's critical to identify which connections are beneficial to you and which are not, in accordance with the Stoic ideals of self-discipline and discernment. You are looking out for your own health and exercising Stoic self-control in your relationships by putting distance between you and those who consistently sap your energy and don't add anything beneficial. Takers are those that are continually asking for more attention, money, time, or even just your incessant complaints. Even if you attempt to assist someone who is using a credit card and not making payments, you will probably end up weary and unable to help others in the same predicament. We must not allow ourselves to believe that others are changed by our good acts. We all possess the resolve to make a difference, and we are the only ones who can unlock that door. Keeping up this kind of connection is like being in a parasitic relationship where the taker eats the host till it runs out. Stoics advise us to have the psychological fortitude to change our relationships with others, since they feel that love is a universal human emotion. Just as we control our capacity to recognize and use moderation to maintain balance in our relationships, we also control our ability to choose compassion and generosity. Giving too little makes us seem stingy and self-centered, while giving too much leaves us exhausted emotionally, physically, and most likely financially. We learn balance, moderation, and how to consider and evaluate our actions via Stoicism. Additionally, it is my hope that this video will help you remember your primary objective: living an incredible life, instead of giving away too much of your resources. Furthermore, as Seneca tells us, kindness is a treasure. A benefit should be kept like a buried treasure, to be unearthed only in case of necessity. Giving too little trains you to utilize generosity wisely. Nature encourages us to treat people well wherever there are people.